Now you have to cut the exact same thing twice. Dry fit looked good. Everything should be good to go. So now I'm going to glue everything up and level everything out. And I only have one chance at this, so I hope I don't mess it up. So the way it works is this spine is going to be coming all the way through like that. This one has a bad slope to it, so unfortunately I can't use that one. But I have one leftover piece, so I'm just going to hand sand this because I think I sanded it too much with the machine, and I think that's what caused it to be uneven. Can't do anything about it now. That's why you have spares, but I also have one chance to get this right. If I don't get it right, then I can't do anything with it, and all this work will be for nothing. So I'm going to mark out on the inside 7.5 inches. That's how long these are. That way, when I put my glue in, it doesn't go beyond that because I really don't want glue squeeze out on the inside too much. I do have a laser, so I'm going to set up a laser too. After they're glued up and semi in place, I'm going to put laser on there to make sure everything's nice and straight. Now, I still will have to cut the ends of these to make them flush. It should be good. I might just grab some sandpaper and just do this for like 3 hours just to get them flat. So these are all glued up. Everything's good. It's been about a day, so I can take them out of the bands and not worrying about them falling apart. So that's good. They're level. Everything's good on that end. So I like that. What I did off camera, I built this triangle base. So my idea is take these and put them on the base like this, right? Obviously, I'm going to cut all these wings down. They don't need to be this long. But this is the first time I've ever done this. I want to do a test piece to make sure I did it correctly. I don't know exactly how I'm going to attach these to this. It's not really thick enough for a domino. I don't want to do screws or a dowel. Plus, there's going to be weight coming down right here on the end. If I don't secure these, eventually over time they will splay out and then this whole thing will just, and that's what I don't want. I'll probably mortise out a notch for them. That way they have something to push into. So I'll cut like a little groove right here. This part will be lower right here. This part will be higher. So that way they push into the actual wood, which will stop them from coming apart. I think that's the plan for that. So I'm going to knock those out. I'm going to see if it works. I hope it works. It might not, but I guess time will tell. So, all right, let's do it. What have we done so far? Well, I took them out of the clamps, or the rubber bands, took those off. Those work just fine. There's good glue pressure all around. I took my base pieces, ran them through the drum sander. That's right there. Did on the other side too. I'm trying to think what else I did. Then I started sanding the bottom just in like a little circular motion like this on the board with sandpaper on it. That worked okay, but I realized I have a lot of meat to take off. I ended up going with a saw. I put a pencil, put them on the table like this, then scored a pencil line all the way across them, cut that with the saw, and then went back and did this motion with the flat sheet of sandpaper. So that worked fine. Next, I gotta cut these ends off. They're a little bit different. Like obviously, these two are fine, but these two are a little bit high, right? The way of getting around that is I set up a block over here. So I have a block right there. So I have a block right here, and I'm going to use that as kind of like my stop for this. I'm going to push them against there, and that's going to be the angle. Now, some of you who don't know what handstand canes are will be thinking you're an idiot because this is higher than that. And that's true because I want it higher. I actually want this to be at like a 15 degree, 10 degree angle. But the point is to have that at an angle. On the originals, you have like a little angle here because your hands go like this. And you actually face downhill on them. These are just glued and like literally screwed into it. So I'm going to cut the angle like this. Then I put the block on them, that will be fine. So angle there, little angle there. Flush against the back. Cool. For all these angles, it's at 30 degrees, which is really nice because this has a positive stop at 30 degrees. Put on there at 30 degrees, and with your sacrificial fence, you would call it, or your bump out, whatever you want to call it, you have the perfect curve of your blade. As you mark it with your gauge, you line this line up on your board, score a line like so, boop, there. Now I got a line, it's perfect. I just lined this line up exactly with the side of the curve I want it to be on. That way I know it's exactly on the edge that it needs to be. So that's really nice to have. So it made cutting these really simple. It was just head scratching to figure out all the angles and everything else, but everything's just at 30 degrees. The curves definitely help line these up to make sure I have a nice snug fit. Zoom up on that bitch. That's a good looking cut of the curve right there. Not bad right there either. So, good. Everything's good on these, so I like how they worked out. And I'm cutting down the blocks. Obviously, the edges have to be rounded over. Now I have to figure out how to put these on there like that. And then after that's done, I gotta figure out how to put, don't break, these on here like this. So that's gonna be the full product when it's all said and done. What I'm probably going to do is find the center of this, line it up like that. Then I want the angle to be going forward. So this is my front leg. Yeah, this is my front leg. Yeah, so angles like that. I just want the block going like that. I want it down angle a little bit. Probably going to draw it out with a pencil, maybe a marking knife, and then carve it out with a drill or a router bit, and then chisel away the extra. Because unfortunately, it's not just a square. Like I'm dealing with whatever pattern this is. It's not gonna just put a drill there and just hog it out with one Forstner bit. things are looking good. Taped all these off, cut the mark, and then I drew on the backside here with a marker. All right, so when I take off the tape, I have a nice, good, clear outline of what I need to route out. So I'm going to chalk this up in here. Then I have a spiral bit in my little hand router here. This isn't a plug. I bought this thing by my own, money. But I like this more than most of my other very, 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 very expensive routers. And I'll tell you why. Because listen to this. It's on, then it immediately shuts off. Like the other ones I have, they'll just wind down eventually. This thing kills itself like within a second of being shut off. It stops spinning. It's really nice. Wait. What I'm working on now is I have these, which is the base, and I have this, which is obviously the cane. So like I mentioned earlier, it's going to kind of go like this. What I ended up doing was I put it on there like so, put it on there. Then I drew, lines with a pencil. Then I went with the router. I cut out the footprints of all of them. I came back with a chisel and made the corners all nice and square and rounded. Then I beveled the back end a little bit. Like it's only going in maybe an eighth of an inch. There's a positive stop in front of the feet here on all of them. So as you push down on the cane, if somebody's standing on it or whatever, as this splays out, it's pushing into the actual spot on the base. Obviously, I just have to trim all these legs up to make them all even. So they're a little bit deeper than they need to be forward and back wise. That's only because I had to deal with the rounded part of this and the radii. Now I guess we're just gonna sit and let everything dry for the next day or so. We're gonna do the same thing to the base. But I want to put the handles on first because when I do them to the base, I'm gonna clamp everything from the top down. And with these being a bigger surface area, it's easier to get a clamp around it rather than the little part at the top. The epoxy setup is pretty good. I ended up going with a syringe and adding some more to it. So it's hard, it's just a little bit tacky still. I'm leaving tomorrow to give these away. So I kind of have to finish this tonight as much as I can. I can't sand it yet on the bottom. It's not the prettiest, but it's also on the bottom. You'll never see it unless you actually do this, which people will. I guarantee it. But yeah, so they're the same height. Everything's good on that part. I like how everything turned out. Next, I'm going to glue them to the base. On the inside of the mortise here, I labeled it A1, B1, and C1. Then A2, B2, C2. And on the bottom, corresponding A1, B1, C1. Because these mortises go specifically to a specific one. So I can't just switch and match and turn whichever way I want because I didn't cut the mortises that way. Because I'm going to clamp these down and I don't want, sticking to the top. So I'm going to put a little blue tape right here. This is just to have the clamps have something 90 degrees to pull down on because these are at an angle. I don't want them to shift around. So I'm going to put a little bit of wood glue in the joint here. I'm going to press them into here. They're a pretty tight fit. The weight is going down on these, so I'm not worried about coming off per se. So the wood glue is there as a preventative. Let's talk about how we're going to finish them. I'm going to sand the bottom of these just to remove whatever little bit of epoxy squeeze out I had. I'm probably going to do shellac. So I'm probably just going to shellac them because they are going to be outside. I just want to make sure they're durable, and because they're going to be outside, they're going to get wet. I don't want them to rot easily. Obviously, you leave wood outside for long periods of time, they're going to rot and get ruined. But at least let them last a couple years, so that's the plan. So canes are done. I actually like how they turned out. It's really nice. So what did I do? Well, first I finished sanding all of these up to about 220. You see that there. And then I put my logo on the bottom. But boom, there it is. I just burnt that in. And then I applied a couple coats of shellac because I don't know why. I just want to use shellac for this. Probably gonna be outside on grass, on dirt, on mud. I want something to protect the base. Got the ends sealed really nice. Overall, really happy with how they turned out. Ended up sanding down some of the epoxy pour out over here. But yeah, I mean, I can't really complain how they work. And I'm like, well, how strong are they really? So I weigh 270 pounds and I stood on this thing just fine. Obviously, it wasn't easy to stand on because I was only standing on like that much of the surface. So I put this block on to make it easier to stand on. But yeah, these things are rock solid. You don't need the base. But for what it is, I think it's fine. I'm giving these away as a raffle. The proceeds of these are going to Give Kids the World Village. So it's a fundraiser that we're doing for the winter festival here down in Florida with one of my friends. Super strong base. If I were to do it again, I probably wouldn't even worry about the base just because the lamination and the glue, it's definitely strong enough. The glue and just the laminations, like everything's rock solid, super tough, super hard, so it's not going anywhere. Yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Lots of little tips and techniques to get these done right. I know they're very simple. They're really simple in concept. I mean, you start with this kind of concept. It's just a bunch of 1x2s, and you end up with something like this. It's just a little bit nicer. Yeah, just a lot more detail goes into them, but they function the exact same. Super happy with how they turned out. If I were to go back and do it again, I didn't like how the form made these ends here. First, I would pin this side with like a dowel or something, put them into the form. That way this side stayed true and square to itself, like, because it's not gonna move. Then all this side would then splay out like that. Now I built the form to wrap all the way around the leg, actually come back in a little bit more. So these didn't have a lot of pressure on the ends here. It is what it is. It's the first form I built for these, but yeah, if I were to do it again, I would definitely build the form and make sure they fully encompass all of it, including the full radius, not just where the wood would stop on the radius. So if you have any questions on these, let me know. If I were to sell them, probably around 500 bucks. These sell for about 50 to 75. A little bit more work to go into these, so these are about 500. Super happy. Can't argue with how they turned out. That's it for this one. I'm not sure what's next. I'll post it when I post it. It's probably bathroom renovation, or maybe I might start the vanity. I don't know. I gotta see how much energy I have after the holiday season. All right, that's it. Come along and watch me do more crazy shit in the wood shop. All right, see you.